Welcome to your next Python TA training video. In this video, we will be covering dictionaries and dictionary methods. Remember from last lesson that we covered lists, which is the most fundamental data structure that we have in Python. A list can be initialized using square brackets, and we can have any sort of data structures we want in a list. For example, a list that I have here called my list has three integers, one float, and one string. Today we will be learning about dictionaries, which is a bit more advanced data structure that we have in Python. You can think of a dictionary as key-value pairs, where the key is an index and the value is the element. So remember in lists, you had the index, which is 0, 1, 2, 3, as you can see from this chart. And we also had the corresponding elements like hello, 3, 4, and 9,000. If you wanted to set this up as an actual list, what we would do is we would write my list is hello, 3, 4.0, and then finally 9,000. Remember that hello was the 0th index, 3 was the first index, 4.0 was the second index, and 9,000 is the third index. But with dictionaries, we're actually going to be calling the index a key. Think of a key as a word and the element as the definition of that word. I'll explain a bit more about that analogy later. We can define a dictionary this way. My dictionary, with the curly brackets, is equal to 0, hello, 1, 3, 2, 4.0, and 3, 9,000. The index is the value that comes before the colons, or the key. So 0, 1, 2, and 3 will be the keys. The element is the value that comes after the colon. So hello, 3, 4.0, and 9,000. Notice here how each one of these colon key value is a pair. So for each colon that we have, that actually represents a brand new pair. So in this example, we have 4 different pairs. Let's look at another example. Instead of using 0, 1, 2, 3 as our key or our index, we can actually use names. Let's set up a new dictionary called amount of cash. And let's say that Daniel has $1,000, Nicole has $1,200, and June has $1 because he's poor. Now, we define the amount of money each person has with the colon. So Daniel will have $1,000, Nicole will have $1,200, and June will have $1. Notice here that we have 3 colons, so therefore we have 3 different elements. In order to access a pair from dictionaries, what we can actually do is we can use a very similar concept to lists, except that this time we're going to be using the actual key. Pause the video here and think about what each of these lines will print. It prints out all the different values. Let's see why. Amount of cash and square brackets, Daniel. Now notice how Daniel here is being used as the index or the key. And that key actually can access our values. So if I want to find out how much cash Daniel has, we just put his name inside the square brackets and then put 1,000. If I want to find out how much money Nicole has, I put that around in square brackets and then type in amount of cash, and finally for June I would do the same thing. Let's talk about some dictionary methods now, since we have a solid idea of what dictionaries are. We have the same dictionary, Daniel 1,000, Nicole 1,200, and June $1. But this time I want to remove Daniel from the list. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to do amount of cash dot pop Daniel. Notice similarly we're using the pop function and the index or the key to remove an element. So if I run this, notice how Daniel $1,000 is gone entirely. When we're removing an element, when we're removing a pair, we're actually removing both the key and the value of that pair. We can also add to a dictionary. Let's use the same dictionary, amount of cash, but this time, let's say that Sharon has $500. What I'm going to do is I'm going to use the square brackets and then put Sharon's name in here and then make that equal to $500. Let's see what that does. Notice here we have the same dictionary, but at the end we know that Sharon has $500 inside of the list. Remember, we use the for loops to iterate through a list. This time we can iterate through a dictionary as well. Let's say that I have the same dictionary, but this time I'm using a for loop for key in amounts of cash. Notice here, when I run this code, it'll print just the names. How would you print the value that each person has? Pause the video here and think about that. This time, let's find out how many rich people there are. Given, our dictionary will remain the same, with Daniel having $1,000, Nicole having $1,200, and June having $1. Let's set the number of rich people equal to 0. Remember that this is a variable declaration line. For each key in amounts of cash, so for each of these names, Daniel, Nicole, and June, what we're going to do is we're going to check by using an if statement. If amount of cash key is greater than 500, notice here we're actually grabbing the actual value from our dictionary. If 1000 is greater than 500, we're going to increment our variable by 1. Let's see what that does. It gives us 2. Let's go through this code together. So the first time it runs, the key will be Daniel. Now, how much money does Daniel have? We can use our dictionary to find that out. Amount of cash, put Daniel in here. So Daniel has $1,000, and is that greater than 500? Yep, it is. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually increment our counter. Okay, the second time it runs, the key will be Nicole. And we can find out how much money Nicole has using our dictionary. Since 1200 is greater than 500, we're going to increment our variable again. On the last time our code repeats, the key will be June. But since June has 1, which is not greater than 500, we're not going to do anything at all. And at the end, we print the number of rich people, which is 2. Thank you for listening to this video, and I'll see you in the next one.